Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I am going to be talking about that your wife has no idea what turns you on, even if you think you've told her, you've not. If you're at all anything less than happy with your sex life, it is worth exploring whether you have in fact told her what she is doing wrong, which most men have not. Before we get into that, though, please do subscribe. My most recent subscriber episode was on the kind of porn that actually helps sex lives, and it's not what you think. So you have to subscribe to hear that. Anyway, so a lot of guys say that they've told their wife what would excite them, and they have not. Because I get their wives in session and their wives have no fucking idea. And so the reason that this disconnect happens is because guys have this whole this whole vast understanding. Not that they're excellent, technically already. Not that this manifests in any way, in real life usually, but they have this vast knowledge of pornography, and so therefore they know more about kind of sex and what it is than women, because women don't watch the porn, so they don't know. And they usually do not know in any other way. They don't take sexology courses or anything. They have no idea. And they usually have less experience than their husbands, who may have very little experience themselves. But anyway, they don't really know. So it's kind of like if you take a calculus class and they're talking about something, but you don't know addition, then you're not going to know, you're going to nod your head and maybe you'll think you know what they're talking about, but you don't. So if the guy who's teaching you the calculus does not kind of simplify the explanation and go back to basics, then you're not going to get anywhere because you don't know addition. So a lot of women don't know addition in this analogy. So I have, and this isn't only men and women. Sometimes the woman is far more sexually experienced and she's trying to say to the man, something like, take charge. Why don't you just take charge? And so she's been with myriad guys, or at the very least, she's watched many movies where the guy, let's say, picks her up and puts her down on the bed and holds her hands over her head and tells her, you've been bad or something, let's say, right? The guy has no fucking idea, no idea at all what she's talking about. None. You could, for $1 million, he wouldn't be able to guess that that's what she means by take charge. So this poor guy, he says, hun, let's go upstairs now. And he thinks, man, here I am, really taking charge, right? And it's not even remotely what she wants. She thinks that he's being deliberately obtuse, and in reality, he's being unintentionally obtuse because he has no idea. And also take charge means different things to different people. But in the situation I'm talking about here, so that's one situation, right, where the woman keeps trying to tell the guy how to be more dominant. I have a whole post about this. I think I have a podcast about it too. When the man, I have a post. It was 8 ways to be more dominant in bed and 9 ways to avoid common mistakes in execution. So, if you're a real literalist, then, you could just kind of follow the bullet points there. But I'm talking here more about the situation where the guy says to the woman something like, I just wish you were more flirtatious. What the fuck does that mean? She doesn't know what that means. She was never flirtatious. The guy also has to get his head out of his ass because frequently he's like, oh yeah, it used to be so great when we were in the honeymoon phase, because it's called cognitive dissonance reduction. He doesn't want to think that he was an idiot that missed all these red flags. So instead, he puts the early relationship on a pedestal when, I'll tell you something, a woman that does not know how to flirt with you when she's 40 also didn't know when she was 25. It's not like she forgot. She never knew. She was just a cute little thing when she was 25. So it looked flirtatious when she just said hello to you. But she wasn't flirting then either. There are certain things that you got to go back so as not to have a lot of hostility and resentment in your relationship. You got to go back and be like, what really happened? And I talk about this a lot, in terms of trying to accept your partner and empathize with them and not make things too difficult for them in a way that's unfair. The woman who doesn't know what you mean by, I want you to be more flirtatious, or I want you to, I want you to want me. This is a good one. This is a good one that guys say. It's so funny because guys are like, oh, women are so indirect. You want to see indirect on both genders? Become a couples therapist. Guys will be like, I don't know. It's I just want her to, want to do it. The hell does that look like? In her mind, she wants to do it because you're not raping her. So she wants to do it. If she did not want to do it, she would not do it. In her mind, there's no world in which you are forcing her to do it, thank God. So thus, she wants to do it. So she has no clue that what you mean is like a little montage of the way that 3 different women that you love on Pornhub look at the guy. Which is really, truly it. Probably mixed in with your high school crush. Like you have a certain way that you think that a woman needs to communicate that she wants you. And it's completely unfair to think that your wife is just going to know what that means because you've never told her. If you're like, why should I have to tell her? Well, man, why should you have a better sex life? I mean, I'm with you. Then let's just forget it. Go play checkers. Think about something else. But if you want to work on your sex life, then you got to be articulate. The same as men are always saying women have to be direct. Men have to be direct, and both genders are equally indirect particularly about topics that they assume, that are awkward, and that they assume the other person will know what they mean. They don't know what you mean. Same as when a wife says to the husband, be more romantic, and he says, I don't understand. I bought her flowers. It was like 3 weeks ago. I bought her flowers. What's the fucking problem? So it's the same thing when the guy says to the wife, I want you to act like you want it. She wants it. She's there. She's having sex. In her mind, it's like a total misattunement. She has no idea what that means, and you're not explaining it. So what would it look like to explain it is like, I wish that you would make eye contact with me more in bed. I would like you to tell me that you want me. I want you to speak. And so a lot of guys say to the wife, I wish it wasn't so silent. So she says, what does that mean? So she tries to do a little heavy breathing. She doesn't know what it means because she, remember, is not a porn aficionado. And so, you got to tell her. So you would say, I want you to say, whatever it is that you want her to say, which you can tell her because it's a hell of a lot better than you just assuming she knows, because I will swear to you now that she does not know. If she knew, she would have done it already. Because, this is another place where guys have to be real. If she knew how to be more sexy and more alluring and more into it, she would have already done these things. If she is somebody who used to do it, and you are in that small circumstance, then, because that's not a lot of guys. Remember, the vast majority of guys were with a woman who, when they're really not good in bed now, they never used to be, but they just used to be more willing, more happy, more young, it was novelty, etc. But let's say that you're in one of the guys where she totally changed everything that she did, and she used to talk extensively dirty talk, and now she doesn't at all. Well, then say, I used to like when you would say X, Y, Z. Can you say that stuff again? And don't go down this bullshit where if you have to ask for it, it doesn't count. You would rail on your wife oh my God, imagine if she said, I want this special thing for my birthday and I know that it's going to make me so sad if I don't get it, but I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you because then it wouldn't be special. You'd be like, what the fuck? What kind of game playing bullshit is this? But yet guys do that in bed all the time because they want a special thing, but they won't tell the woman what it is because she's just supposed to know, because it's supposed to be spontaneous and organic. Give me a fucking break, right? It's marriage. You're going to have to work on it. Same as parenting. You love your child, but you also want to know what the hell they want for Christmas, right? So that you can give them something they like and not something that you used to like when you were 10 years old or whatever. So the point is that in a relationship as adults, you got to think, I have to learn and I want to help my partner learn. We have to learn. Yes, we organically have a connection of some sort, but after that, over the years, we change and grow and we have to learn how to make each other happy in a very objective and open way where we're both receptive to feedback and willing to give feedback, which is often a greater problem than being receptive to feedback is the partner's unwilling to give the feedback in the first place. So you want to say to your wife, this is what turns me on. This is what I like in a blowjob. This is what I like with sex. This is what I like you to wear. This is this. This is that. And so what I was saying before is in the situation where a guy, where the woman totally acted different in the honeymoon stage and she does it now, remember too, she was, as I've discussed a million times, basically drunk on new love and her hormones were raging. So it's like saying to a girl, hey, can you just dance like you did when you were wasted? Just do that right now. I know you're ready to go to work. You got taking the kids to daycare. Just dance though, like right now, like you did when you were out partying with me when we went to Aruba that time 5 years ago when you were wasted out of your mind. Just dance like that right now. Do it. She can't do that. So that's what it's like to ask a woman to just do what she used to do now in the honeymoon stage. If you say to her, though, and she's not ready to take the kids to daycare, etc., and she's willing and she just, is hanging out with you, and you say, hey, can you, dance like you did in Aruba when you did XYZ? And she's in a good mood and it's just the two of you, and you told her what XYZ is, then maybe she'll do it because she doesn't fucking remember. And that's how a lot of women are after the honeymoon stage. The guys, all the sexual memories imprint because it's very important to them. So they know exactly where they were when they got their first, second, and third best blowjobs, right? The woman has no idea. She's basically in an altered trance state when she's turned on anyway. Frequently, and I should probably do a podcast about this, she's drunk. So, it's like the way that she knows the kid's first, second, and third word, the way that she knows where she was, like when she realized that she was having a boy and or a girl or whatever, the things with the kids, all those milestones, that's the way that you remember the sexual encounters. She remembers that shit with the kids. So it would be just as unfair for her to turn to you and say, do you even remember what Johnny's fourth word was? No, you don't fucking remember. It doesn't mean you don't love Johnny, but it's just like how she doesn't remember, what happened after she was dirty dancing with you in Aruba. She doesn't, even though it may have been the highlight of your sexual life. She doesn't remember because she was hyped up on probably, as I said, drunk, and also the new hormone love phase or whatever iteration of that, because that can wax and wane if you take her to a new place or something, that sometimes you get a little bit of that honeymoon feeling. And those hormones basically just like hijack her brain, and she doesn't really record memory the same way as you do. Certainly not. Certainly not with the visuals. Remember, her eyes are closed a lot of the time. I mean, it just makes sense if you think about it, but a lot of guys don't think about it, and they take it personally. Like that the woman doesn't remember the last time we had sex. This happens all the time, couples counseling. Like, when was the last time you had sex? She's like, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. And he's like, it was March 4th. It was in the evening. Remember, it was March 4th in the evening. And prior to that, it was April 15th. It was in the morning, and it's so funny because it's so different. But if I said to her, anything about the children, she would remember that, and he would not. Or the most romantic thing that he ever did, she would remember that, he would not. So it's just all in what's really salient to you. Men have more testosterone. They're recording these memories more. So anyway, the point is you got to tell your wife what turns you on. And if you think you did, you didn't. Because unless she hates you, which is its own, problem, you need to get into couples counseling then, she would be trying to do more of the things if you actually told her what they are. If she wants to be happily married and you say, can you tie me up with this thing that I'm handing you? Can you take this scarf and tie up my hands, and be in charge like that by tying me up? Then she'll be like, oh, that's what he meant for 15 years about taking charge? I thought that he meant that I should take his hand and lead him into the bedroom, and I did do that. And he always looked like he was not too happy. Well, I guess it's because he wanted to be tied up. Right? So, you got to actually give the person a chance to do something that you like. And if you think it's embarrassing to talk about these things, then that's why the sex life is subpar. You have to get over your fear of direct communication, or of turning her off, or of her thinking you're a pervert, or whatever, because believe me, she already knows that you're disappointed. You're not as good an actor as you think, because women come in all the time after the guy said, oh yeah, she doesn't really know how dissatisfied I am. And I say, you know why you're here? And she's like, because he's incredibly dissatisfied in the bedroom. She's not a moron, you sulk, you make faces, you sigh. Like, there's plenty of ways that you let her know that she's like not a rock star in the bedroom. But you got to actually give her feedback so that she can improve, and by the way, as there are many men who never criticize their wives in bed because they're just so happy to be with the wives. And this is the majority of happily married men. So, if your wife does respond to feedback, she's already awesome. Because it's unusual for women to get that much feedback, especially negative feedback. Positive feedback they get, but negative feedback, it's rare. Because as I tell you, a lot of couples are happy, and that includes the sex life too. So, and 50% of people are securely attached in securely attached relationships. It's primarily preoccupied men who are dissatisfied with the sex life. So, it's already going to be something that she's not heard before in her life, in her purview with her friends, that she always has a husband who's disappointed after sex. That's already bad, so... Right? I mean, it's already something that she was never expecting to happen in her life. So now, at the very, very least, if you are this dissatisfied, don't make it vague and something that she can never accomplish, in addition to the fact that she's being criticized in the first place. Be extremely loving and direct and explicit about what you want. And remember, always lead with compliments. You're so hot. I just want to see you more. I would love it if we could leave the lights on. So many guys will be like, she knows I want the lights on. How does she know? Because I always leave them on, and then she's the one who shuts them off. What the fuck? That doesn't mean she knows that you want them on that bad. She thinks that it's become her role in this interaction to be the one who shuts the lights because, of course, the lights get shut off. That's how she thinks about it. So many guys will be like, oh, she turns the lights off because she doesn't want to see me. She doesn't want to see the encounter, whatever. No, many women just like it better when it's dark. This is one of the things I talked about in my initial podcast. For sensitive women, it's overwhelming, the visual output. They need to kind of get into that relaxed state, and that involves dimming the lights or turning them off. And many women find the encounter more intense that way anyway, because there's not this onslaught, like being in a sensory deprivation tank. You feel any little thing that does happen. Anyway, the point being, any more than any of these individual examples can be useful, is the idea to reckon with that you've not been as masterful a communicator as you may have thought. And if you have not ever said, I want X and then Y and then Z, then you're not a good communicator. Then you've just been being very vague. And so that on top of the fact that she's being criticized implicitly, she has to deal with the fact that she literally has no idea what you mean. And it seems like a situation where she's set up to fail. And you can't understand that because you have all this vast knowledge of porn to draw on. So you think that it goes without saying that a woman would know how to give a blowjob. She doesn't know how to give a blowjob. If she didn't know when you were dating, she doesn't know now. She didn't learn in the interim, thank God. So, I mean, thank God as a joke. Of course, it would be nice if she Googled blowjobs, but it would be nice if you Googled how to, engage in gentle discipline with my 2-year-old, or something that she wants you to Google. So we don't Google things that are outside our interests. And so thus, you got to actually communicate what you want, and then you got a chance of getting it. All right, I hope that you found this useful, and I'll talk to y'all soon.